What's up, everyone? It's Octavius here. I just wanted to give you guys a basic update on one of the few topics that seems to have piqued the interest of some of you, the whole CPS thing, my son and his genitalia. There are so many nerve endings that are on the foreskin itself to where even if the operation is a success and the thing is removed, there is no question about a loss of sensation. Granted, he's too young, as far as I know, because I've never caught him doing it by himself, and nor would I care to. Um, that he wouldn't know a difference, which somebody could argue, sure, fine, yeah, but at the same time, why does he not have a right to that when eventually he becomes a sexually active individual, hopefully responsibly, because I'm not going to want to try to have him have the life I've had. Trust me, folks, I am trying to raise a child who understands things enough and knows things enough to be able to do what teenagers are going to likely do, or what young adults are likely to do, but do it in such a way that it doesn't have as permanent effect on his life. Though he has talked about wanting kids in the future, and I suspect to some degree the ramblings, and I'm going to call them that, of my mom on this issue and trying to convince me was that she was almost more concerned about the idea that he could procreate than it really being a matter of this. She tried to make it as if I'm being a selfish father for wanting to consider my son and his future life or his life right now should I have to agree to this particular procedure. And I don't know if most of you have noticed this, but I don't do well with being guilted into things. This is why I dislike the vegan bylines that are often out there, not always, but often, at least the official mouthpieces that tend to talk for the vegetarian and vegan communities out there, just make me want to eat meat right here on camera in front of you all. Because it's not something like, oh, well, this would benefit you in this way or that way. It's, you're an immoral person. The only way that you could even become a moral person is if you stop eating now, and then, you know, but I digress. I'm getting off on a rant here. I don't bow down to being shamed. I don't bow down to being guilted into something. If I feel like I'm being manipulated so that other people can feel comfortable about the situations, well, guess what? I get to make the decisions. Except for when law bodies are involved, in which case, obviously, there is an area there where I kind of don't get power. But like I said, I've had to come to peace with this because it may come down to that. It may come down to I sign this or I get written up for medical neglect of my child. And I mean, I agree with a user, Yes I Am James, had said that a lot of doctors are way too quick to go to circumcision for things. Something I've touched on off and on, especially when it comes to things like urinary tract infections. I think, to be honest with you, that has less to do with the foreskin and more to do with people who don't know what to do with their child's maintenance or how to talk to their child about maintenance of themselves. I do not have this problem, nor has my son, at least under my care, had this problem. And I could go on and on with examples throughout his life when changing his diapers where it didn't seem as though he was having any problems with his foreskin and his ability to pass urine and other things of that nature that people are trying to make it out into being something of this nature. He's on a steroidal cream right now that's supposed to loosen it up, and apparently there has been some loosening of it, but not enough for the doctor to be too happy. So we're being referred to a pediatric urologist, which it's going to be happening next week. A good lot of me feels like the urologist hopefully is not going to be another one of these who's quick to jump to the C word, and will be more inclined to say, well, I'm not sure I like where this is at present, but it has enough room for everything to function properly. And if the only thing they then say is, well, I would recommend circumcision because he would probably be prone to urinary tract infections, I'll say, oh, well, sorry, no. Because then that doesn't become a medical necessity. That doesn't become something where they can say, well, he's medically neglecting his child. That's saying, well, we told him of the strong possibility of something, and he turned down our particular solution to this possible problem. In which case, I'll be like, well, send CPS. I will explain myself. I'm more than happy to show my research for the reasons why I'm against circumcision unless it is absolutely medically necessary. And I feel very suspect of the stories that my mom has said because, as I said, I honestly think that she manifests things because of her anxieties. And it becomes this thing that this new notion that I've come to has been hard for me to shake when I look back on my life, when I look back on the things that I've been told, and how it doesn't match up with reality sometimes. But I think if she hears from a medical professional that this isn't something that would be medically necessary, but would be possibly recommended, then she would feel better about me being able to stand my ground and say, well, thanks, Doc, but I think we'll take our chances here. Because it'd be one thing if he was having expressed problems, okay? Then obviously, yes, I would be very wrong to ignore those problems just because I'm an intactivist. But that's not to say that I never feel there's ever a reason to do that. I've known of cases of people who had a mutation in their genes and things were so tight that they had to have it cut free because otherwise the foreskin would impede everything, including the person's future sexual life, that's not right. With my son, though, I didn't see anything that was mechanically not working or that was troublesome when it comes to his ability to have his genitals intact. But that's kind of where it's at. We're going to the urologist. The doctor's a little happier with where my son's foreskin is at with the steroidal cream, but he thinks that my son may not be doing it right. And so next time we go in, I'm going to actually say, I'm going to confirm what the doctor says, because my son seems to have forgotten it. She's obviously not going to remember it. I'm the only one who's generally paying attention to these things that are said. And that's the thing. I'm a detail-oriented person, though sometimes a detail will float around in my brain until my brain decides, hey, did you remember that thing that was said on that particular thing? What did that person mean? With my processing speed issues, which actually I may be fixing with the very program that a doctor had recommended to me who evaluated me for my ADD and my other issues that I have in there. But things have calmed down for the most part, but I'm still having to deal with the fallout of this whole thing. I hate that this has become a battleground between myself and my parents. I hate that I'm being guilted or attempted to being guilted, as if I can't see through that, into doing something for which I have no evidence is an absolute necessity outside of rare medical cases. I have a feeling I'm not likely, and he's not likely going to have to go through that. I hope not. Because as I said, even if he doesn't have the complications that the procedure can, in some cases, often rare cases, include, he's still not going to have the sensation that he could be having, because a part of his body that is literally made for pleasure. Again, something I don't like to think about in accordance with my son, but you know, removing that's not much different than removing any other sensory part of your body or sensory organ just because. I want it to be absolutely a necessity, or I don't want to just do it arbitrarily, because we are very circumcision happy. Don't believe me? Look at Africa. Instead of comprehensive sexual education as well as investments in condoms, to combat AIDS and the HIV epidemic over there, we have invested millions of dollars, sadly under the Obama administration, into mandatory male circumcision due to a rather flawed and questionable study that was done in Africa on that very topic. I just love how our government sometimes can go half-cocked, no pun intended, off on some cockamamie thing, trying to dump millions, with an M, worth of worthless procedures, damaging procedures, trying to combat something that could be done cheaper, better, and way, way more effective. But no, we would rather pick the dumb solution, the harmful solution, and thrust it upon people who, for all intents and purposes, from what I'm gathering from the CDC and their battles for things like vaccination down there, are people who don't know any better. Not that I'm trying to say that Africans or South Africans or any of these people are just are in general dumb. I am saying, though, that at times they're willing to listen more to their medicine men in some of these villages than they are to actually listen to people who are medical professionals, and on and so on. And don't give me this, well, the last time blacks had trusted the white man, they were slaves, or they were enslaved. And you know, I'm not going to even touch that with a 10-foot pole. I'm one of these days I am going to try to put together a research project on the whole slavery, the fact that there were a lot of blacks selling their fellow members to these slavers and slave traders, and how, while our slavery at times, our bastion of slavery was pretty damn terrible, we're not the only one in the slavers' camp, and we weren't the ones who started it all. But, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother thing. But the point is really more just that, this is so unnecessary. And I believe in his case it's mainly unnecessary, but at times I have to refer to my hands are tied, because I've got this shadow over my head of this organization that should not even be involved with me, because I'm not doing anything wrong other than trying to be the best damn father I possibly can be, to throw off that curve of negativity that people, not just women, have against dads being single parents. I want to show that I can be a valuable, strong, and able-bodied individual, and that my son can grow up to be a compassionate, caring, hardworking, productive member of society. I mean, there's a lot resting on my shoulders, and we want to say that things like men's rights activists are stupid. Yeah, that's going to be a video for one of these days as well. I've got a lot to say on that topic as well. Anyways, that's the update. Hopefully next week I'll have better news. If not, well, it is what it is. I've got no control right now.